Howdy ho, everybody. Greetings and welcome to Conflict Radio. Today is, let's see here, maybe make sure my mic's working and everything. It looks like everything's going good. Today is December 2nd, 2021, and we are just over 3 weeks away from Christmas. So I hope everybody's getting ready for that. Let me give a shout out here to everybody that's kind of hanging out in the little chat box here. I see Allegon's here, Sapphire Elf, Hank Stolk, AJK, Will Carr, number of things. Arlene Adkins is here. Happy Plague Doctor, how you doing? Williams Carr Nundrum is here. Let's see. I guess Mary Kay is here. Let's see. Who else? Anybody else? Anybody else? All right. All right. So today on the show, we're going to be talking to Jim Gale. And I guess before I get into Jim, I want to talk about Monday a little bit. We missed Monday's show. I had to cancel. I have I guess something's going on with my foot. Is getting like these weird, I guess you can call them pins and needles, like it's asleep, but it's very painful pins and needles, and only if I bend or move my foot a certain way. And I didn't know quite what was going on with that. It's been going on for a couple weeks, but then I started getting it in like my arm and pins and needles in my hand some, and my back completely went out. I couldn't even walk, so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go down and go to the doctor and see if I can't figure out what's going on. And I didn't get any. I guess I didn't get any answers to any of that really, but my back feels a little bit better. Jim has decided to join us today. At age 19, Jim Gale first learned about the power of writing his goals. From the practice of inspired visioning, he became a 4-time All-American and national champion wrestler. After college, he moved to Hawaii, backpacked through 37 countries, lived with the Maasai, did I say that right, Jim?
Yes, you did.
Maasai, explored cultures and searched for his next inspired vision. He wrote his goals again at age 29, which included being retired in 3 years. I'm going to turn up my mic a little bit. Leading him to early retirement and the achievement of another life goal. He bought a boat, lived on the ocean for a year, and then moved to Costa Rica to build eco-villages where he discovered permaculture. It changed his life, and he realized he needed to bring it to every household in the world. The idea, whose time has come, became food forest abundance. Jim speaks about sovereignty, entrepreneurship, mindset, and freedom. Jim, welcome to Conflict Radio. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Michael. Thank you so much for having me on your show and allow me to speak to your guests about the solutions to all of it. I will unpack those today in a way that I think will surprise many people listening, because it's taken me a long time. And as you were reading my bio, I was thinking, you know what should be in there is the failures, the massive failures that led to the successes, that led to the failures, that led to the successes. And to talk about this contrast that we're experiencing on a humanity level right now. In fact, on every level, it's bigger than humanity even. It's a global, universal, maybe, level. And how it's the yin and the yang and the contrast, the friction that actually creates the fire and the growth. So yeah, thank you for that introduction. And one of the first things I want to get into is your pins and needles. Now, normally when somebody feels pins and needles, their arm or leg has already went to sleep, and it's actually waking up, right?
Yeah, that's like a normal pins and needles. Yeah.
Right. It sounds like this is abnormal in a lot of ways. But my experience with that is to point towards the waking upness of everything. And Dr. Joe Dispenza actually has made a very epic science of this, is when we want to make change, the best way to make change is to go deep into that area and find the emotional attachment that oftentimes, if not always, coincides with the tightness. And then once we can find that trigger, and that's what these plant medicines, ayahuasca, and many, many more things help us do. They'll find the emotional root of things, and then they'll help wipe it away. And a lot of times it's accompanied by tears. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a shiver, or sometimes it's just a a new light or awareness or vibration, and it's palpable.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of comments in the chat room. Neuropathy. I've looked into that, and it actually freaks me out a little bit. I guess I'm 46. I haven't had any diabetes test come back positive at all, but my father has it, and my father's father has had it. So that's definitely something that I'm looking out for, guys. I think honestly, I think I've got a pinched nerve or something, and it's totally messing with my foot.
Yeah, you might have a pinched nerve, but it's a symptom of something else. And I like to go right into the what elseness of everything, and then from there you can align the system in a way that starts from the identity level down, or even the spiritual level down. And again, this has been scientifically shown to be duplicatable by simply going in and meditating deeply. I think you can really figure out, be your own doctor, as they call it.
Yeah, I guess everybody's telling me to watch my sugar, try not to take too much sugar. I mean, that could be said. That could be said probably for anybody, though. I mean, we
Yeah, don't
all
eat
have.
poison. I think that's good advice. Yeah.
We're all taking too much sugar. We
Yes.
really are.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the world. I mean, obviously we're going to talk a little bit about plant medicine, but I guess it says here in your bio that what your food forest. Let's talk about what that is, what you're doing with the food forest abundance, because I find that fascinating. You basically travel the world, and you'll go into somebody's backyard and you'll completely plant them and design them a food forest, right?
That's right. So what the company does, and we launched 7 months ago. There were three of us at the time, and we were expecting a huge launch. Well, it's been as expected. We're now in 15 countries, actually maybe 16 or 17 now. We just got another client in Portugal this morning, and we're in about 43 or 44 states. And we design and install food forests for people. And what that is, it's a functional landscape. It's an edible landscape. So there are 40 to 50 million acres of lawn in the United States. When we turn 30, 40, 50% of our lawns into functional landscapes, then we reverse mass extinction and deforestation and cancer and heart disease and diabetes and literally all of the forms of tyranny of our world.
All right. So what does that look like I mean, what does that look like for somebody who's sitting on maybe a half-acre lot? They've got maybe a quarter-acre backyard. What kind of plants? What are you going to put back there? Say on a quarter acre that's going to. I mean, can you put stuff back there that will supply them year round?
There are many families around the world that are producing all of the food their family needs on a quarter acre, even a tenth of an acre. It's about stacking functions and using your elements and different pieces of the puzzle wisely. It's about growing at multiple levels. So most people think of a fruit tree, right? And they've got the fruit tree level, right? It could be a short fruit tree or a tall fruit tree, right? But what about the roots and tuber level, the sweet potatoes and the potatoes and the turmerics and the gingers and all of the different root crops, the yuccas and taros? And then what about the mushroom layer and the herbaceous layer? And then you've got your short bushes and your taller bushes. And then you've got vines that can go up the middle of them. This is literally what I'm describing is like what we visualize, or what I visualize in this Garden of Eden story that we've all heard, right? Literally just abundance and life everywhere.
Yeah, it really is. It really is an interesting idea, especially in today's times. With rising food prices and everything else, this probably should have been something people should have been investing in 5 years ago.
The best time to plant a fruit tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. You're 100% right. And if we had invested in this, and there's a very clear and easy to see reason why we don't, it's called mind control. Another word for mind control is govern, which is control, and mente, which is mind. That's why we don't. It's because that's how they control the minds and the hearts of the humanity is through the stomach.
Yeah.
So when we realize what the problem is very clearly, then the next step is asking, well, then what is the solution, right? The solution to mind control is consciousness or enlightenment. The solution to the control of the stomach is literally just using the same resources that we are currently using, the same inputs, the same energies, the same expense and time and money, and turning that energy into something that's more functional. And that is food crops instead of purely ornamentals.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of these pictures. I guess it's pretty neat the way you've got some of this stuff laid out here.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get on. You talk about ayahuasca a little bit.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about that. I actually would you put that on the same level as mushrooms? Say.
I would, yeah. I've had epic experience on mushrooms. I would actually put ayahuasca on a completely. It's a different level. I wouldn't call it a level like above or below, but it's a different experience. It's for me. It's actually more rich in the what can be experienced. Like many people on ayahuasca speak to entities. I never have. I'm still waiting for the entities to talk to me. I'm like, come on, I'm here. Like
You're
I'm
talking
literally.
about the elves.
Yeah, the elves, Mother Ayahuasca, any of these outside entities, I'm like, come on, please talk to me because but I'm not going to have an experience unless I have the experience, right? A lot of people really wish an experience into existence, and that's cool too, right? That's kind of what visualizing is. Anyway, I haven't met any elves yet.
All right, well that's interesting because I guess a lot of people are wondering if these elves are real. What's the deal with I guess they're called clockwork elves, right?
Yeah, I've heard that. I have seen the shadow people. Now, I don't know when I say
Well, you don't
seen.
need anything to see those.
Right. And when I say seen, anytime I look clearly in the direction of these shadow people, they're gone. It's like shining a light in the darkness. The darkness can't be there. But from the periphery, they're very clearly in the peripheral vision, especially while doing ayahuasca.
All right, so what kind of level would you put that on as far as DMT is concerned?
I think that is DMT.
It's the same thing.
I think it's the exact same chemical. The difference is you've got a root and a leaf or a stem, and when you mix them together, somehow the stomach acids don't break them down and allow it to be the DMT to be absorbed through the stomach, which means it's like 4 hours of a 20, which is normally a 20-minute DMT trip, right?
Yeah, I think you smoke that too, don't you?
Yeah, I never have. I smoked one thing one time. It was I can't remember the name of it, but it was a really uncomfortable feeling. But yeah, it's DMT. Some people smoke it, and I heard nothing but good things about it. I just haven't.
All right. So how do you get into ayahuasca and mushrooms and stuff as a spiritual tool to transform from self-centered acquisition to community and cooperation?
Through intention. And just what you said, it would be a great parameter for the intention, a great foundation. Like when I go into it, I go into it, and I haven't had ayahuasca now for about 6 years. I had it 7 times in Costa Rica, and then the last 6 years I've had mushrooms twice, which has been fantastic. But anyway, when I go into the ayahuasca ceremony, there was something in my life that I wanted clarity on. And I always got the clarity.
All right, but I mean, it doesn't actually open up a spiritual world, does it? Or isn't it just messing with the brain?
I think it's all levels of vibration, right? So I'd say it absolutely does open up a spiritual world or a different vibrational reality. We can see at a different spectrum. The first time I had ayahuasca, it was a very mechanical experience. I could see these epic colors and shapes all moving. And it was just like this kind of crazy carnival of sounds and shapes. And I was part of that. And then subsequent ayahuasca experiences, they became more natural, more nature was, I literally became part of nature. Or in one case, there was a musician, in many cases, but one particular case, this musician was playing these instruments, and I became part of the music. And it was just epic.
All right. Anything else? I mean, I guess.
Well, well, I will. You know what I think is important for me to relay is
Why don't you tell us? Why don't you tell us some good tripping stories?
Well, I'll tell you, actually, the things that were most profound to me, it's kind of using my logical mind also with the metaphysical and saying, what are the real benefits of this? Is this good for me or is it bad for me? Now, my experience after these 7 times, I was with maybe 15 people on average. I probably done ayahuasca with 100 people, let's say, right? And of the 100 people, all but 2 of them said they enjoyed their experience and they would do it again. And the other 2 were just, they were like, oh, we've been so stoned all the time, we never felt anything, which I was like, I feel bad for you at that moment. But my point in this is, at the minimum, everybody was very glad that they did it. On the other end of it, there were many heroin addicts and coke addicts and PTSD sufferers and people that were depressed and all of these major issues. And I had my issues as well. The loss of some family members. I was really I hadn't become okay with that. And then through these experiences, every one of us said, the heroin addict said, I don't want to do heroin. The cocaine, the different addicts said, I'm done with that. The PTSD sufferers, like my wife, she had a bull. Actually, it was a black cat the size of a bull come and kill her multiple times in a row. And finally, she just went, oh my God, I don't care. There's no such thing as death. And after that, she's been a different person because she was afraid of dying. And then after that experience, she realized that we can't die.
Yeah, I was on I guess, I did some mescaline back in, I guess I was about 18, 19 years old. And I think I did way too much. And I thought I was dead. And I was trying to figure out who I was before I died. And I had no idea. All I knew was that I was dead and I was from Earth. I used to live on Earth. If you can believe
Wow.
that. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
I had no idea who I was. I couldn't remember what my name was, who I was. Like all I knew is that I was from Earth.
That's
It's just a
fantastic.
crazy
Yeah.
story. And I got into some shrooms, I guess, not too long ago, and never really tried them before. But the only thing I really saw from those was just patterns everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful patterns, right?
Yeah, so maybe I didn't see enough. Maybe I didn't get enough, right?
Well, so patterns are very common, but then you get to another, I guess this is what I would call another layer, right? Where all of a sudden you're past the patterns and now you become part of everything. There's no real separation. Like one time I was coming down from mushrooms and I just starting to come down and I had a big puff of cannabis and I was breathing and meditating out under the stars in a mountain in Costa Rica in the jungle. And I was looking up at the stars and I started breathing and doing this holotropic breathing. And I became literally, I was breathing as the universe. And when I say literally, like I felt everything about it. I could feel breathing and inhaling and exhaling the universe. And I will never forget that. It changed my life radically for the good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you talk about cannabis, you talk about things that heal. What's with the I guess it's the big money making pharmaceutical industry that doesn't tell us about plant medicines and natural medicines for things. Why have we allowed this to go on for as long as we have?
Well, ignorance and fear are the tools of enslavement. They're the primary tools. So the first thing that any slave master has to do to get maximum production from a slave is control them right? You usually get good production from a slave that you can't control. So what are the best tools of this wickedness? It's fear. And so they try to turn our schools into schools where they don't teach you how to think, they just teach you what to think. Again, it's governmente. Same thing with our mass media, which was bought out. And I just went, James Corbett did a mass media educational series, and it was fan-freaking-tastic about all the history of how these same families have controlled the media for a long, long, long time. And they literally went at one point and bought 75 of the most influential newspapers in the United States. This was about 100 years ago. J.P. Morgan and his crew, they bought them. Why? So they could control the narrative, so they could control what society thinks.
Yeah, have we not have? Do we do the? I don't get it. Like, does the general public just not understand that this is going on? I guess what my question is, I like to consider myself awake. I see all of this bullshit that's going on. Like, even with this Omicron thing, right? Like, it's a week today since they discovered it, and now it's everywhere all of a sudden. I'm not seeing any, and I'll ask questions, like on news feeds and things. I'll be like, well, what tests are they using to test this?
Yeah.
How do they know that it's a new strain? And what, obviously, you see the fear, right? Well, everybody that has it has been vaccinated so far. I guess I said a bad word there. We like to say the cure when we talk about that, because otherwise they nail us. So everybody that has had this thing has had the cure. Is it possible that the cure is actually the variant?
So when I talk about governmente, it's really, I like to go to the foundation of it, the lowest common denominator, the most simple thing to kind of understand. And when we talk about the little details, which, by the way, I like to point out, the first one lasted a year and a half. The second one lasted maybe 2 months, and the third one lasted, it's going to be fried out in weeks, if not a month, because people are saying no. They're waking up. We're in the midst of the most exciting time in the history of humanity. This is the apocalypse. This is Armageddon. This is the Great Awakening, the Age of Aquarius. It's all happening right fucking now. And we get to help direct the next steps. We get to help be part of what's next. And that's the most important question, right? Do we want to sit and talk about all the crazy, people? Somebody asked me, in fact, it was the producer of a TV show we just did. He said, Jim, do you think there are white hats? Michael, have you heard of the white hats?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, the cue of the white hats, right? And my answer to him is abso-fucking-lutely. You and I and everybody who's speaking truth against this narrative, we are the white hats. Michael, you are the white hats.
Yeah, no, right? Somebody asked me that. I think it was Saturday. I was over a friend's house, and they're pretty awake over there, and she's like, I was like, it's the white hats and the black hats, blah blah blah. It's kind of this, that, and other thing. And she's asking me, she's like, what's a white hat? I was like, we're the white hats. So I agree with you totally. Like,
yes,
like we are.
Exactly, man. This idea that somebody's going to come and save us is just, it's not how it works, right? We save ourselves by doing one really great thing, and that's enjoying life and being free. That's how we save ourselves, by non-compliance to authority. That's the most dangerous superstition. Thank you, Larkin Rose, for creating one of the most pivotal understandings of our time. Is the most what is it called? It's the most dangerous superstition, is the belief in authority, the belief that we have to have somebody to protect us. And that is 100% fear-based, and that's the government's best tool.
Yeah. Devotee says ayahuasca is deeply satanic and part of the NWO plot. What would you say to that?
I just laugh. I don't even know what to say to that. Ayahuasca is a naturally occurring chemical in our brain and in nature. And if they synthesized ayahuasca, if they made it in a lab and patented it, I would say, yep, I think he's right.
Yeah, that's true, right?
Yeah.
They'll have to AstraZeneca doesn't sell it, right? Or Pfizer.
Exactly. When Pfizer sells it, then I'd say, yeah, I think he's right.
That's true.
Oh
All
my
right.
gosh.
So I guess what I want to ask you about is what are some good plants people can grow and have around to I guess have around as medicine that they can actually grow themselves like right now. That's very simple.
Well, if you're in the States, you're going to have to grow indoors for the most part, unless you're kind of in Florida or lower Texas or California or something. And microgreens. Or we also have a indoor design team that creates indoor designs that put all the details together so somebody could DIY or have one of our cooperatives actually install an indoor grow room. The main guy, our guy Sean Stanton, is the leader of this. He was a cannabis grower for many years. I think it was 10 plus years. And then he started designing permaculture landscapes. And now he's taken the mixture of what he knows and he's putting that into the indoor design. And they're just fantastic.
Yeah. So I mean, so what are you growing? What specifically?
So microgreens are the fastest to harvest. They take between 10 and 20 days to harvest, and they would be broccoli and kale and sunflowers. And I like wasabi and amaranth and peas. And my favorite is in radishes, but my favorite's a mix of peas and broccoli and kale and radish. It just tastes fantastic. And microgreens are 4 to 40 times more nutritious than their adult counterparts because all their energy is packed into that little microgreen body. They're fantastic. And then also, I'm a big fan of potatoes and sweet potatoes as preparedness crops because the food supply chain is in big trouble and it might not last. And long term, it's done. We absolutely have to turn it now for the long term. We have to start now. But the short term is what I'm more concerned about. So it's time to start growing food indoors and or outdoors.
No, I agree with you that you think they're doing it so that they can push their 3D food printing agenda?
100%. Yeah. Well, it's more than just that. They've been doing this since Henry Kissinger 50 years ago said, if you want to control nations, control oil. If you want to control people, control food. If you want to control the world's currency. Right. So they do. They control the food, they control oil, and they control the currency. But here's the best part. And this is where Victor Hugo, he said, there's one thing stronger than all of the armies of the world, and that is an idea whose time has come. And this is magic, folks. The idea, everybody here has heard of the idea. The idea, and I'm not a religious person, I'm a spiritual person, but the idea is the Garden of Eden. Food forests everywhere is the idea that they cannot defeat.
All right. So what would you suggest I eat to help with my foot?
I would suggest you lay off all carbs or all breads and sugars. Just take them out for days. And here's one thing. I actually don't need anything. Drink water for 3 days. Only water, and a lot of it, and good water, not tap water, but get a Berkey or some kind of water filtering system. Don't drink that Dasani stuff or any of that. Some good water filtering system, and then drink only water for 3 days, and your foot will be better, I think.
Only water for 3 days.
Only water for 3 days, yes.
I'm gonna be hungry.
You know what? It's weird. You probably won't be. You'll feel weird. You'll go through periods where you have little headaches, and then drink a little Himalayan sea salt in your water, a little lemon. But you'll feel weird, but you don't feel hungry. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, well, I'm sure my body has enough fat stored to keep me going for a little while.
You could probably go for 40 days, but 3 days is very healthy. Literally, I would bet you for fun, if you do it for 3 days and you don't feel better in your foot and everywhere, I'll buy you a food forest blueprint for your yard or whoever's yard you want.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So no lose. So it's only a win-win. You either get healthier or you get a food forest blueprint, and then you get healthier.
I bet you I can get you to mail me one of those anyway.
You probably can.
That
I'm
way,
I'm easy.
that way I could film it and everything and throw it up on my channel and let everybody see this awesome blueprint that I started putting together.
That's fantastic, Michael. I love it.
All right, Chuck Bam says try it, Conflict Radio. Yeah, maybe. Let's see here. I saw a question here. What does this guy think about the Botniche Manuscript?
I don't know what the Botniche Manuscript is, but I'd love to hear about it. Sounds interesting.
All right, and I saw another one here about some kind of berry. I forget who that was. If you can post that comment again, that'd be great. And oh, here we go. Stephanie Martin says, "What do you know about polk and polk berries?"
I don't know a lot. I was 12 years in Costa Rica, and now I'm here. I've heard of pokeberries. We've planted pokeberries, but in our network. But personally, I don't know what they are.
All right. So if any of you guys have any questions, go ahead and just throw them up as we go through, and we'll do it that way today. I'm going to try to be a little relaxed on our normal questioning and
That's okay. I got some. Yeah, I got some good stories too, and anybody can jump in with a question anytime. So I want to share how we are changing the world, and I'm talking radically changing the world. It's been miraculous. From launch 7 months ago, about a month after we launched, which was on the High Wire with Dal Bigtree, he did a show, a 33-minute segment. It was Dr. Zach Bush really laying out the problems of the world. And then they had a 33 segment on myself and Food Forest Abundance as this is the solution. And since then, I had the producer of my favorite TV show for 10 years of my life. It was the Crocodile Hunter. The producer called me up and said, Jim, we'd like to do a show with you. I said, great, in immediately. And then 2 days later, my favorite actor about 10 years later from my favorite TV show calls me up. And so I'm not in this world, right? I'm not in this world of TV and Hollywood and movies and all that. So we just finished a pilot where we installed a food forest at Adrian's house. And it has 5 different sections to it. A Chinese medicine wheel section, a vineyard that can produce 300 to 500 bottles of wine per year. Once it's mature, it'll take a few years. Like all food forests, they start out little skinny little twig trees, right? Because they're babies. Within 3 or 4 years, you've got massive abundance. And then we did a regular food forest and a couple other, a Mexican cantina food forest and a raised bed garden. So that was done within 5.5 months of launch. Since then, we've now had a documentarian call us up, world-class, award-winning, another producer who was an Emmy Award winner last year, and a very famous animator. So we are in process of what exponential growth doesn't even cover it. And this is really mind-blowing because this just happened, is a new COO came aboard. Our COO launched or ran the largest commercial product in history, Windows. His name is Rick Bakken. He's phenomenal. And now he is managing operations for the company. So he used to have 131 billion under management, and we're creating a fund that it's Grow Green Global. And this fund will be financing the installations of food forests around the world. And so when you stack all of this together, I feel very good about the future.
I mean, it doesn't seem like it's something that I would be able to afford, right? Like to be able to have, I mean, it's expensive, isn't it? I mean, if you have nothing and you go to a food forest,
yeah.
I mean, what are you looking at realistically? Like $5,000?
What do you currently invest your money in? Like your food money?
I mean, I hear what you're saying, like as far as investments go, but I don't invest $5,000 all at once, on any one thing, regardless of what I invest in. Right. I invest like maybe $50 here or $20 there. I don't, I don't take like, I'm talking like if you've got nothing and you want to have a food forest, what are you looking at spending?
So my question was leading to something. This is something that people, our world, first of all, cannot afford not to do in a way that the current system is unsustainable, and all unsustainable systems fail. Secondly, it doesn't cost anything. You could go to this anything extra, right? You could go to the store right now and you could buy organic, whatever your favorites are, tomatoes and cucumbers and pumpkins and squash and whatever, green peppers and all of it. You could then propagate those annuals and some of those perennials, apple seeds and avocado. I've got so many avocado trees growing and pineapples growing that I went to the store and I bought an avocado, or a whole bunch of them. And then when I was done with the avocado, I threw it in the compost, and now I got an avocado tree. So
Yeah, I mean that's true, right? I mean,
yeah, that's how nature works. Nature is regenerative and abundant, and it's free everywhere, right? If you want the service of a design and an install, then that speeds up time, and then it's going to cost because that's our service. But you don't have to pay us anything. Anybody who wants to can go literally start a garden tonight, and it's so freaking easy.
yeah, just with stuff they have in their fridge.
Yes.
You know, you could take a garlic out of there and take a clove of garlic and throw it in dirt and it'll grow.
Yep. And potatoes, which is still one of my favorites, right? I mean, you put these guys, they put 10 potatoes on top of the dirt, and they put hay over the top of it. Or I mean, sorry, not 10, 30 pounds. And then about, I think it was 10 months later, they got 300 pounds out. So they got almost a 10x return on their 10 months of time, and really a very small amount of effort, a very small amount of labor.
Yeah, Sapphire L says you can replant a carrot top. The carrot won't grow, but the top will flower and go to seed.
That's amazing. I mean, that's freaking magical? Like, that's what nature does. And we have discarded nature for artificial shit. And don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those guys who hate I love technology. But if the technology is controlled and meant to be destructive, right? Just like when they changed the hertz of the sound waves that we hear back, I think that was back in the 40s, or maybe it was the 20s. You can look it up. When did they change the frequency on the radio? This was intentional, just like putting fluoride in the water. This is intentional. It's all about one thing: mind control, governmente.
Yeah. So you would recommend that people start doing that even a little bit at a time. Get some stuff out there growing, right? I mean,
Yes.
obviously, you know, in December we don't want to do it right now, but I mean, what, like February, March, right?
Well, yes, you can start indoors tomorrow, today, anytime. And here's why I suggest doing it: for selfish reasons, right? Because it'll be better for you if you do it on every level, right? It'll be a good return on your time invested. Think about, planting microgreens. I'll share with you exactly the process. So once you buy the stuff, it comes to your house, you unpack it. That might take, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, right? You get it unpacked. If you got soil, compost or something, you throw the soil on there. It might take a little bit of time setting up these things, like minutes, right? 10, 15, 20 minutes each. But then they're there, and they're there for pretty much ever. Now you put the soil in the tray, you get the seeds, you put like a shot glass full of broccoli seeds or kale seeds, you put it on the soil, and you get the sprayer and you spray it down. Then every time you make coffee in the morning, or whenever you make coffee, if you do, or tea or whatever, put it near your sink, put it near your bathroom, anywhere. You just spray it 10 times, 10, 15 times. Now within 10 to 14 days, you've got a tray that is worth $30 on the market, right? Your actual time in, when you scale this out, is minutes per tray. Even, let's call it 5 or 10 minutes. Let's call it 20 minutes. $30 worth of value, and that's just the cash value, let alone the nutrient and all these other things, right? So if you look at the cash value, it's the best return on investment you could ever do, and it'll make you feel better.
Yeah. And does it matter at all what kind of dirt you have near you? Sapphire Elf here, he posts a comment. He says, random thing about Australia dirt. He's in Australia. He says, we have very low iodine, so we have to eat iodized table salt.
So the first thing in permaculture is building soil. And you're right. And we've got a lot of friends. My producer is from Australia, and I talked to him about the soil and dirt quite a bit. And what we do in Australia and everywhere is we start layering the soil, right? You start with mulch. Most people, and this is the number one mistake that you'll never have to make again, is you don't have the soil exposed to the sun and the wind and the rain. You never do, because that's not natural. In a forest, you're always walking on leaves and twigs and sticks and moss and whatever, right? So you start by adding a layer. If you can add first a layer of soil, good. But even if you just add mulch and wood chips, that alone will radically increase the nutrient content of your soil and the life, the microbiome. And then you add nitrogen fixers and green manure plants, maybe some moringa trees, maybe some Mexican sunflower, mimosa, or pigeon pea, or perennial peanut, or bush bean, and all of them. And all of a sudden now you've got the plants are healing the soil and adding the minerals to your soil. And then over time, you literally will be building your soil inches per year. And over time, it's absolutely amazing how abundant it is.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's not easy, is it?
It's
to
not easy to
grow
do it
your
the
own
other way.
stuff, right?
Oh, thank you for saying that. That's the exact opposite of the truth. You don't have to do anything. If you're now, I'm talking about annuals and microgreens and things like that. If you have a food forest in your yard that's designed and installed, you could leave it forever and it would expand by its very nature. One of the world-class designers is on our team. He's out in the field right now with some of our customers. His name is Chad Johnson. He's got a permaculture farm in northern Minnesota off the tip of Lake Superior. And he started this, I think, about 5 years ago. I went to video this summer. He's got 300 different species of edible and medicinal plants. He's got raspberries, these 8-foot tall, so thick you can't see through them, raspberry bushes that the deer and the moose and none of the animals will walk through because they're all thorns. And they're intentionally placed there as the barrier for his annual garden, right? His whole place, it's so alive that he's got birds that have never been seen or recorded in the United States on his property. He's got multiple species of turtles and frogs, and animals are coming into his system, and then they're eating the stuff and they're bringing it out into nature. So his food forest is expansive, just like the Amazon rainforest. The Amazon rainforest was a designed food forest 5,000 years ago.
You think so? You think they designed it?
That's according to archaeologists. You can look up the study, was the Amazon rainforest a food forest? And you'll see what I'm talking about.
Huh, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I guess we don't want to talk about engineered soil, right?
Well,
I mean, isn't that what you're doing? Is you're engineering your soil?
Well, engineering, yeah, but we're using nature as the engineer.
Yeah, I'm looking here. I'm looking for pics of like actually what you're talking about, the food forest stuff, but I'm not seeing any. Is there somewhere I can go and see pics of this stuff?
Well, on our website, we've got a bunch of pics. And then if you look up like YouTube videos on food forests around the world, it's incredible. Check out permaculture food forests. There's thousands of videos demonstrating what I'm talking about. Nature does all the maintenance if you design it and install it properly.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty interesting stuff. All right, guys. Let's see. Sapphire Elf says at Conflict Radio, yes, there is a type of soil that's a rich black dirty they mine, then replace with barren soil and it grows back. Some ancient enzyme.
Yeah.
Most other rainforest soils are actually very poor.
That's true. They're clay. I lived 12 years in one of those rainforest soils, and it was clay, and it helps shed the water and so on. All the good stuff has been washed down into the basin below, right? But yet those food forests support massive epic jungles. Isn't that amazing? So we built a community in the Osa, and we took water from a spring up top, and we strategically located a tilapia pond above our gardens. And then we filled it with about 500 tilapia. And then within the years, we had, I don't know how many thousands of tilapia, but we would take the water from that pond, which was rich with tilapia manure. And then the overflow would go down into our gardens. And those gardens, even though the soil sucked, those gardens thrived because of that aqua, basically it was a flow through aquaponics system.
Now, what would you say if I mean, obviously, I guess my listeners know I'm in Huntsville, Alabama, the Rocket City, and a lot of our dirt here is that red dirt. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Our dirt is like this bright red color. It's actually kind of cool looking, but I don't know how good that is for growing. What do you think about the Alabama dirt?
I think that you need to build topsoil. Topsoil is going to be mostly black and filled with microbiome, filled with life. So you're going to have to start building on top of that. Now there are plenty of nutrients in that red dirt, but it's going to be way better when you start adding layers and then adding the plants. And then together with the sun's energy, the wind, and the rain energy, it's going to just build up. And a lot of those red dirt areas, a lot of the dust bowls were created by ignorant agriculture. Bill Mollison said the agriculture taught in universities for the last 40, 50 years has been the most destructive element of our society.
All right. So, what would you say about UFOs and aliens? Any ideas on that?
A lot of ideas. I've seen one entity in my life very closely. It wasn't like that guy on the screen. It wasn't. I didn't see any really silhouette of a person type of thing, but it was a cloud of energy that I could see, and it was light and it was very intense, and I felt it very intensely. And I had no any kind of drugs in my body, no ayahuasca, nothing, no alcohol, nothing. I was wide awake in Hawaii when this thing approached me, and it approached me twice. And I wish I would not have been scared, because the fear I had stopped me from really experiencing it. If I could see that same thing again, I wouldn't be scared. And maybe that's ignorance. I don't know, but I just wouldn't be. I would want to see what's next.
All right. So
How about you?
I've had a few different things happen, I suppose. I might have been abducted. I don't really know. I mean, it could have been. I guess everybody tells me, oh, well, my wife especially. Oh, you were just having a, what is it, sleep paralysis thing happen to you, and I don't know. Maybe I was. I guess
Wow.
it's hard to say. I haven't definitively seen anything. In my waking moment, I've seen shadow people. I have seen that. That's a little freaky when you hear about them all the time, and then you see one, you're like, oh shit, there goes one there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely stuff out there. It's I mean, don't you think it's I mean, if you haven't started growing something by now, I mean, do you think it's too late? I mean, obviously not. I mean,
No,
it's this
I
this is
don't.
what
I
you
don't
do.
ever. There's no such thing as too late. I mean, it's too late in Minnesota to put a fruit tree in the ground. Yes, that's too late. You don't want to do that right now. And really anywhere where it's going to be frost or snow or frozen here in the next now or in the next couple of months. Start in the spring. But if you want to start doing indoor growing, you could start tonight and just have fun with it. Just go to the local store, get some organics, and start growing.
Yeah, I try, and sun's really important. You got to have sun. I have a lot of shade where I am, and that kind of stinks. The Happy Plague Doctor says, or Arlene Atkins Zell says, I'm in East Tennessee. The soil is almost pure red clay. I use it to make terracotta and have to really amend the soil to grow anything.
Yep, that's
So,
true. Yeah, a
yeah.
lot of people do that. There's a lot of destroyed soil around the world and around the U.S. And we that's but really, it's our duty to our posterity, and it's better for us. Like, it's good on every single level to start by using the permaculture principles like swales, right? Ditches on contour. If you've got rain that comes and you've got a grate on your property, and the rain will just wash away that. Or it's worse if you use poisons. The people that use poisons do so out of pure ignorance. They don't understand that the poisons are the problem. I mean, they're one of the root problems of our world. The American lawn is the biggest mass brainwashing scam of all time. And yeah, and so stop using the poisons right away, and then start using principles that will help you build, or really help nature build your system back to life.
Yeah, Happy Plague Doctor says, I am in the Sandhills in Nebraska. Soil management is in our blood. You know, I'll tell you, they're on top of that stuff out in Nebraska. I used to live in Scotts Bluff. The Happy Plague Doctor's listening. I wanted to give a shout out to Happy once before. I thought for sure he was up around Valentine. He was saying something once that kind of gave that away. You have to let me know if I hit that right. I was in I spent some time in Valentine, Nebraska. It's right up, I think it's right up on the north central part, right on the time zone area there in Nebraska. What a neat place that is. I
love it.
I was in Scottsbluff, Gering for a little while, probably a couple years. I was there in my younger 20s. So
I think it's beautiful there. I just love the heartland. All the farm. They're my favorite people. Really, are farmers. Now, I don't really even want to be a farmer. Those farmers I know, man, they grew up working their asses off, and they were tough, and they were smart, and they knew how to get shit done. So I don't have respect for anybody more than I have for farmers. What I like to teach is this kind of lazy farming, where after we develop these systems, then it will take time. But within 20 years, our business is probably going to be done, because we're like a homeopathic doctor. You just don't need to come back. Right? We're going to fix this shit. and it's fun to say that, like a business that intends on being done in 20 years. And it's just magic what's happening with alignment being towards one thing, creating massive global impact on a freedom and health and joy level.
what do you think has created all this red clay down in the southern area of the states? You think it was all underwater here once?
Probably, but more recently, what's created it is deforestation. When you take the forest out, so every big tree puts 100 or more gallons of water into the atmosphere every single day. And then their leaves fall. And what happens to the leaves? The leaves build soil. And so the sun is actually, mass is created between the chemical reaction between the plant and the sun, which is fucking mind-blowing, right? And so that mass, if we just let the forests grow and we design them to grow to serve humanity in the way that they can serve humanity, then it's just abundance everywhere. So, but we have to let the forest grow again.
Yeah, well, good luck with that, right?
Well, no, it's the next logical step. It has to happen. It's going to happen. It's happening.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're starting to hit on that save the environment thing now, right?
Well, I'm looking at save life.
I'm picking on you a little bit.
I love it. I know what you're implying. This whole green movement is a bunch of whitewashed bullshit. It's a scam, right? The save the environment is used to promote force and violence, right? They want to force us. What I'm talking about is inspired action. It's voluntary action to inspire a person to go from a producer or a consumer to a consumer and a producer, because it's good for them. It's joyful. It's healthy on every level. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's the truth. And it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt at all, does it? Just to, work on your own little plot, your own little area.
Yeah, and turn it into a meditation where now you're listening to your favorite podcast or whatever it is. You're enjoying life. You're grounding. You're getting healthier, and you're growing food, which per hour is an incredible value by itself, right? And you're helping the world in every way. But it starts with yourself. It starts with selfishness, because there is no other perspective. We can imagine or hallucinate that we're somebody else, but we're us, right? So when we start with a regenerative selfishness, a selfishness that's actually good for everybody else, that's what enlightenment's all about.
All right, guys. So we're at the top of the hour. I suppose if anybody has any questions, you want to talk about ayahuasca or anything else, feel free to chime in. I guess you have to talk about just about anything, right?
Yeah, man.
All right, guys. If you just want to get in on the show, you know what? Let me open up the phone lines here and see if anybody wants to call in. And you're good at taking calls, right?
I'd love to.
All right, let me throw the number up here for everybody so that they can. I guess I have this old pic here. I'm just gonna throw that up so you guys have the number. It's 256-850-4513. I know it's an older pic, but the number is there. Let's see. How about that one? We'll do that one. That one doesn't have an episode number on it. In fact, I'll just I'll just delete this one here from my little thing so it's not there anymore. All right. So 256-850. The line is open right now. 850-4513. Go ahead and call in. You can also reach out to Conflict Radio on Skype, and that's another way you can call. So maybe we can get some of these Aussies to call and talk a little bit about ayahuasca. I know Sapphire Elf wants to call.
Awesome.
I don't know if he's.
Are they mostly Aussies? Did you say?
You know, I have a lot of Aussies that call. Here we go. Here comes one now. Conflict Radio. You're on the air. How you doing?
What's up?
What's going on? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, this is the Happy Plague Doctor.
Oh, how you doing, Happy? Up there near Valentine.
Yeah, good, man. I'm trying out a new headset. How does it sound? Does it sound okay?
It sounds really good, man. Really good.
Hey, Happy. How's it going?
Are you there? You went away.
Yeah. I'm trying out a new headset.
Yeah, it sounds good. Can you hear
Here,
us?
let me switch headsets. I'll go back to my old set.
Oh,
apparently, this isn't working.
You can't hear me then.
No, he must not be able to hear you. We can hear you, Happy.
Yeah, it sounds great, man.
Yeah, you know, you were sounding
So are we good,
really.
or
Yeah,
are we not?
can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Oh no.
Yeah, I don't think you can hear us, Happy. All right. So can you hear us?
Hold on. I don't even have you in my ears yet.
I love it.
Well,
Sorry. How's that?
Okay.
it sounds good, man. Can you hear us?
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. This is Tattoo here.
Yeah, man. You got a question or something for Jim? All right, Happy. We're gonna. I'm just gonna go ahead and disconnect that, and maybe he can.
Yeah.
Maybe he can get that fixed and call back in. Say what now?
Sounded like another guy jumped in, or maybe not. Tattoo or something. Anyway,
No, I don't know.
that's funny.
All right. Who's there? Who's coming in? This is Sapphire Elf. Looks like I got him.
Yep. How you doing, man?
What's up, Sapphire? How you doing today?
Yeah, not much.
How's the Australia weather?
We had sun for a couple of days, but the rain's about to come back now. It's been 5 weeks. We got some El Nino cycle. We're getting the south end of the monsoons this year. It's been pretty devastating for farmers.
Oh yeah, that's the truth. They had a really good crop this year, and it got wiped out. Like,
Yeah. We just had the bushfires like a year or so back, and then they finally get a good season, and then it just gets totally washed out. Like people are just so devastated.
yeah, you couldn't get that water when you had the fire going though. Huh?
And that's it. Well, it's either too wet and they say my global warming, and then it's too dry and it's burns and they say my global warming. Yeah. And I wanted to touch on what Jim said. It's I think these environmental activists are fighting the wrong enemy. It's like plastic pollution and electronic e-waste and industrial chemicals are the greatest threat we have to the environment and to the animals on it.
Well, I think they're fighting who they're told to fight.
It's they're fighting ghosts. And I just wanted to see what Jim thought of that.
I think you're 100% accurate. It's the poisons and the poison producers that are creating all the problems of our world. And then they're pointing the finger to humanity, calling us cannon fodder and useless eaters and all that crap. And it's easy to see for anybody who's able to see where the poisons are being produced and who's mandating them and how the money is being spent to mandate the poisons. So yes, man, I couldn't agree more.
Exactly. Like China gets its free pass on its green stuff that it wants the UN to do. And they're the world's largest polluter. And it's like microplastics from broken down stuff's ending up in rice, pasta, breads, the water supply. It's just everywhere. You can't get rid of the stuff.
Right. It's everywhere. But here's the best thing I know about nature is it's incredibly resilient. I think we're on the very tipping point. It's the end game. You know, Hollywood isn't playing around when they do what they do. And now it's time for us to either wake up or go bye-bye. And my goal is that we wake up, and I see it happening. Is it in time? I don't know, but I'm going to do the most I possibly can to help it be in time.
Yeah, I think people are just generally getting a lot better than they used to be when it comes to that kind of stuff. It's just a global kind of consciousness. And Ian Malcolm said it best in Jurassic Park, life will find a way.
Yes, I love that. I'll never forget that exact line. It resonates deeply.
Yeah, it's like the climate will always change. Like the Sahara Desert switches back every 10,000 years from lush tropical to a barren desert. And it's just, weather patterns and earth tilt and stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But animals migrate. Yeah.
And a forest creates stability as well. Like, if you take an area that has a big forest, you're going to have streams, you're going to have all this life and beauty. You chop down the forest and then the stream goes away. And that's like when I first learned that about 15 years ago, I got so sad. I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea how the cycle worked. So really what we got to do is we got to grow more trees and then more forests and more layers. And then to do it, which will create the best yield for humanity and abundance for our natural habitat of all kinds, is designing the food forest elements into the forest.
Exactly. The canopy and the tree roots protect the soil from erosion.
Yeah.
And they help trap the goodies in, and a good ground cover like ferns and things, get the cycle going, and they help the mushrooms. And have you heard about that neural web of like the mushroom biota in the soil? And it can somehow communicate between when one plant has a negative reaction to a type of pest, it'll signal to other plants around it. And even without the pest on those plants, they'll start developing some kind of allelopathy reaction, so it just won't attack them.
Yes, they'll create more poisons or more bitterness in the plants that are on the other side of the forest through the mycelial network underground. It's mind-boggling how intelligent and efficient nature or God is, right? And then everything we're trying to do is we're trying to make that artificial and kill it. And when I say we, I sorry for that. I'm going to change that word. Everything these poison producers and governmente are promoting, advocating, and mandating is for the destruction of the whole system.
We're all guilty of it, like the sad part is to buy the good food is so expensive compared to this monoculture mass-produced crap and buying like bread and stuff. It's just a cheaper way to do it for most people. It's the sad part.
And I love turning the problem into the solution. And what is it really more expensive? Like I talk about convenience. I was on a bus to Africa or in Africa, and I was agitated because I wasn't very patient at the time. And a guy said, "You know what Americans hate most?" I said, "What?" He said, "Inconvenience." And I was like, "Oh my God, you're so freaking right." So this idea that McDonald's is convenient, when you unpack that a little bit, it's the least convenient thing in the world. You might have saved 20 minutes on the time of sitting down and enjoying your meal, right? But now you've just lost an hour of energy in a day and years off your life if you do it over time. So it's the most time consuming and the most expensive thing you could do is eat poisonous food.
That's a great way to frame it. I'm going to borrow that next time I talk to someone else. Awesome, I love the way you phrase that.
Well, the food they're throwing out there, I mean, they're kind of killing us with it, aren't they? Isn't that kind of an agenda as well?
100%, yes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it makes you work and produce for them until you're about 50, 55 years old, and then you're going to drop dead of all the crap that you ate your whole life.
Yeah, we actually work more today than a medieval peasant in a hovel that lived in a lord's land was made to work. All they had to do was plant the king's grain for a couple of weeks, wait a few months, and then you'd spend 4 weeks harvesting and threshing it, and most of that kept in your little area, and everyone got 3 loaves of bread, and the king got like a bit of a cut. And now we're just working like slaves. Like, it's crazy.
Not like slaves. We're working as slaves. When I was first told that I was a slave, I told the people, fuck off. You're nuts. I'm not a slave. I can do what I want. Well, wait a minute. Can you really? How much tax do you have to pay? Well, shit, it's 40%. Oh, really? 40%? Like you just said, that's more percentage than these slaves had to pay back in medieval times, right? As far as what is currency? What is money? It's a stored value. It's a representation of value. So now they're taking 40% of that. And Goethe said, none are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free.
Yeah, totally. And I've got a quick story about an LSD-induced drug trip talking to a tree, if you want to hear that.
I'd love to.
Yeah, go ahead,
yeah,
man.
well, you got to know the right people to know what you're getting. But I tried one of those stamp things, and I had like a half, and I was going sweet, and then I had the other half. I ended up talking to this spotted gum tree, and it's got these spots on the bark, and they were kind of morphing in and out of faces and talking to me with all these different things. And it was bummed out that it couldn't go exploring in the world. And I told him, you're doing it right staying here, mate, because out there, it's all just shit. And we had this great conversation, me and this tree, like an ant from Lord of the Rings.
That's fantastic. Oh my God. I want to have that. I want to meet that tree.
Yeah, I know. Like I've only done it twice, but I don't feel the need to do it again. But it was a really positive experience for me. You know, it gave me the insight that, you know, you got to look after plants, because if you put poison near them, they can't move. You know. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that the way that we're building cities today and things like that we're interrupting the ability for fungi to talk to each other?
Big time.
And that's creating a problem?
There's so many levels of creating problems that I wouldn't say that the way we're creating cities is number one, but it's definitely ridiculous. Like when we create cities that are regenerative, that are local, everything is produced locally. In fact, we're building an off-grid community right now, the first of its kind that I know of in the world. It's a luxury community that has all the food, water, and energy produced on site. It's on a private 430-acre lake, and it's got a runway to the east of it, a mile-long paved runway. And we're going to build a studio on this property, and we're going to demonstrate what freedom looks like. And we're going to demonstrate it from a beautiful setting, but we're going to show people that don't have 2 nickels that they can start growing food, that anybody can start growing food. Or, and this gets even more fun, recognizing what food is all around you.
Exactly. Like I think humans aren't evolved to live in cities. I think as soon as you can walk amongst a crowd and be anonymous and no one will see you again, you'll do stupid things like litter and stuff. I remember when I was a kid, when I went to the city, I was about 15, and I saw a guy sit next to a bin on a park bench and just leave his coffee cup there. And I walked up to him and tapped him on the shoulder, and I said, "Oi, mate, there's a bin right there. Why'd you just leave your cup over there?" And he said, "I do it because everyone else does."
What
and I thought, wow.
Yeah. What a disgusting human being. Like he's not even a human being, I don't think. He's an NPC. He's a stormtrooper. He's a drone. He's not awake. He's not conscious. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was wondering if you could bring up me mask picture that's still in our chat, Mike, and show him Twig, me forest spirit mask I found on me family property walking trail. It's not carved. I found it this way, and I think it's like an emissary to nature that was given to me.
I don't know. Are you going to be able to see it, Jim?
I don't know. I'm looking at a picture of 2 UFOs right now. I probably can see it.
Hang on. Hang on. I didn't know if you had up the YouTube screen or not.
Not the YouTube.
Ask everyone about Twig because I just like to get some insight on it because I think it's the most craziest thing I've ever seen. Yeah.
All right, let me add this here. I gotta hit this. I gotta do all these things.
All right, I'm going back between YouTube and the Conflict Radio main screen. Oh, there it is.
There we go.
Oh, that's badass. Look at that thing.
Yeah, it's just a scale of hardwood that had some knots, and it literally fell off an old tree and was lying there right in front of me on the same track I walk.
That's cool.
Yeah, I called him Twig, and I think he's like my trickster elf brother in arms, you know.
There you go. Oh, that's cool.
You have to put a string on it so that you can wear it.
I can look through it, and it fits my face perfect, and it's comfortable on the backside too.
Oh, that's freaking awesome. No, that's cool.
I've got some like Moroccan Damascus glass beads and like a bit of my hair and some pawa from a shell and just little trinkets that I've collected over the years hanging off it.
Hey, I got a question for you. How's it going in your area of Australia right now?
Pretty good. Like I was in probably the most liberal state when it came to all the lockdowns and stuff. They never really affected us in the country. It was a town had a big outbreak but if you mean in general wildlife health, we're doing really well, you know, like in my area.
Cool.
You know, we don't really have any like bad stuff going on. We're all pretty like, everyone's kind of a bit of an environmentalist. We're all a bit hippie and we're all surfers and we love our art and smoking some bongs and shit, you know?
Yeah, beautiful. Sounds like a good life, man. I loved it there. I actually got a backpack and I went to Sydney and I bought a car and I started driving on the left-hand side of the road back 15 years ago where the Coke sign was, which was right in the middle of Sydney. And I followed the cabbie around and then I just headed north and I ended up stopping at Surfer's Paradise. And I lived there for 4 months. I went to Bond University. I got a bartending job. And everybody in the hostel I was staying at said, you can't get a job here. It's impossible. They used to go up and pick fruit up north. Anyway, I said, I'll get a job. And then I think the next day I had a job right on the strip at a bartending thing. It was so much fun, man. What a party. What a fun time.
Sapphire, let me ask you this. Is it, I mean, I'm seeing reports that there's like, you got camps over there for people who have been exposed to coronavirus or something, and 3 people escaped one of them not too long ago. What is that? Is that for the uncured?
No, it's the First Nations people in the Northern Territory. Most of their population is Indigenous, and they can't force mandates onto them. And so they're trying to close the communities off from everyone else. And some dude just wanted to go to the pub. And he just went to the pub and fucking they freaked out and locked the whole fucking town and the pub and, you know, like, yeah.
So it's basically like Indians that you're putting in camps over there?
Well, we're cutting them off from the rest of society because they say they can't mandate them to get vaccines. So they're just cutting them off from society. And if they break out of these hard borders they're putting up, everyone freaks out and shit.
Oh my goodness. Could you imagine if they tried doing something like that? I mean, well, I wonder how long till they start doing that to Indian reservations here. Could you imagine if they did that in America?
No.
I mean,
it's just nuts.
Yeah, but the person that brought in the Omicron variant into Australia is double vaccinated. So I think it's all just bullshit.
Well, yeah, that's the truth. I mean, the cure is the variant.
Yeah,
I mean,
I wouldn't doubt it.
They're giving it to everybody.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. You know, I haven't had it.
All right.
You know, all the women in my family for 5 generations are nurses and stuff. You know, so I'm not anti-vax at all. I just will not be forced to do something by coercion.
Good for you, man. That's great.
Yeah. All right, Sapphire. I'm gonna let you roll, man. See if anybody else.
Thank you, Sapphire.
Yeah, no worries, dudes.
All right, man. Be safe. Have a good night.
Good chatting.
You too. Cheers, mate.
All right, later on. All right, guys. So the line is back open. If anybody wants to give a holler, 256-850-4513, and you'll be live on Conflict Radio. Tiffany says they don't want you surviving in a time of crisis. You don't think they haven't been preparing our demise, aka downfall, for a long time now?
I think they've been preparing it and the control of humanity for as long as there is any history. Yes. There's lots of documents about this. My favorite one is called Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, which I believe was written about 70 or 80 years ago. And this document details the families and the psychological technique. It's amazing.
All right, Happy. We're gonna try it one more time, man. How you doing today?
One more time, I can hear you now.
All right,
Yay.
awesome, Happy. Welcome to Conflict Radio, man. How you doing?
Yeah. All right. Sorry, man.
That's all right. You got a question?
No, that's good. Oh, as far as Indian reservations, I live 9 miles from the Rosebud Reservation, and they shut themselves out. I mean, you were not to stop. If you were going to go through those reservations, you weren't supposed to.
I'm losing.
Yep.
You're definitely in and out on your audio.
Really,
man.
this headset sucks that much.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a headset or maybe it's just your connection.
God,
but I mean, I hear
sorry.
what you're.
All right, man.
Hang on. What you're saying is that the Indians have locked out the reservations. They're not letting anybody in. But could you imagine if we actually weren't letting them out?
You're clipping in and out too. All right, man. I'm getting out of here.
All right,
Have a good one, Happy.
All right. So I guess we just lost Happy there. So anyway, what I was saying though, I mean, if what he's saying is true, that they're not allowed not anybody's allowed in the reservation. I'm talking about, could you imagine if we surrounded the reservation with a fence and refused to let anybody out?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's radically criminal. It's tyranny at the most obvious levels. And so what's the solution? Because I like always coming back to that. The solution is first of all, raising out of fear. Fear is the number one control. Then on top of that, we have to have a strategy to provide for ourselves, right? And what do we start with? Well, food, water, and energy. And food is something that everybody can start doing right away.
Yeah, it's just so funny to me because my wife and I, we, like I said, we consider ourselves awake, and when they try to push this agenda now with this Omicron thing, and it's almost just laughable. Yeah. Like when it's all bullshit, it's almost funny, that they actually do this and people are and they get away with it. But I think like what you said, like consciousness is evolving. People aren't buying this stuff anymore. I mean, look at the ratings of some of these news networks that completely have plummeted. Nobody's even listening to them anymore. Nobody cares about what they have to say.
Yeah, except for the stormtroopers, right? And they're all getting poisoned at a massive rate, and not just by the mandated chemicals, but also by their minds. Their minds, they're not healthy in the mind, and people who aren't healthy in the mind, that's an unsustainable way to live. And so I think that there's going to be a lot of suffering for those who abide by the force and violence and advocate for force and violence. In fact, that's the one business thing that I am very clear up front about. I will not do business with anybody who advocates for force and violence. Now, everybody says, well, I don't advocate for force and violence. I say, okay, that includes mandates. And then 1 out of 15 people hang up on me and I say, thank you. I'm free of that energy. And that has been the best business decision I've ever made.
Yeah, that's the truth. All right. Well, I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Do you want to tell everybody where they can find you?
Yes, absolutely. And first, folks, thanks for joining us this long. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Michael, I appreciate you tons. And you can find me at Jim. My email direct is jim@foodforestabundance.com. Our website is foodforestabundance.com. And we're all over the world. We're helping people grow food the natural way.
All right. Sapphire wants to know, how can he email you?
I'll type it in here right in the chat box. Foodforestabundance.com. Jim@foodforestabundance.com. There it is.
All right. And I would imagine you have this, at the bottom of the website, there's a contact tab. Does that go right to you?
Yeah, it goes to one of our team. We got a really big and amazing team now, and it goes to somebody. And then if it's relevant for me, then I'll get it as well.
All right, so there you go, guys. The link is in the description box below. Hang on a second, Jim. I'll chat with you just a minute as soon as I'm done wrapping this up.
You got it.
Remember, everybody, you can always find us on the internet. Just go to www.conflictradio.net. If we ever disappear from YouTube, we'll probably be up on Rumble or Rockfin. I guess Rumble's making some moves, so we might go over there anyway and do some stuff over there. And I mean, we'll still be here, but look for us over there. If you are on Rumble a lot, look for Conflict Radio. There is a Conflict Radio channel over there. I don't think there's anything up, but we are over there. Well, that's gonna do it for us, everybody. We'll be back on Monday, I'm guessing. I don't have a guest yet, but if not, then maybe we'll do some open lines or something, and we'll get all you guys to chat if you want about whatever the heck you guys want to talk about. I got some things I want to get off my chest, and maybe we'll do that on Monday. So until then, batten down the hatches, everybody, and be safe.